Hello and welcome to the present session in the course of Statistics in Psychology. Today we will be discussing about the topic on normal probability curve. I understand the term seems to be a bit heavy, but once understood, you all will love to go ahead with this particular topic. The topic and the term says normal probability curve. Of course, this curve is not related to the figure curved, but yes, this curve is related to the graph that we talk about while drawing some conclusions and looking over the distribution of population as well as our data. Before we go into the in-depth topic of normal probability curve, let us try to understand what exactly is the meaning of the word probability. Have you ever talked to your friend or have you ever tried to guess something? The probability, say the probability of you or your country winning the match team, any match. Have you ever wondered whether you guessed it and you have guessed it right? That is, two of you maybe have tossed that our country is going to win a match, and at the end one of your friend wins the toss. How could that happen? And why do we need to make such guesses? Have you ever wondered about it? So let us try to understand the term probability first. What exactly is probability? Well, probability is the expected frequency or the chance of occurrence of an event among all possible similar events. Similar events, and out of those possibilities, how come there is a frequency or a chance of any one particular event to win over or to occur in comparison to all other similar possible events. It also refers to the expected frequency of the occurrence of the event, which is based on knowledge or information about the conditions determining the occurrence of the event or phenomena. Now let me give you an example of a cricket match. Have you ever heard or have you ever been participated in the expertise talks related to the cricket match, which happens to occur pre the cricket match as well as post the cricket match? The experts they take about the polls, the opinions, they give their expertise on how come a particular country, a particular cricket player won the match. So these expertise, these information and the particular knowledge in a particular area increases an individual's tendency to give more expected probability of a particular event to happen. Now let me give you a very good example of what exactly is probability. If you toss a coin on air, I expect that many a times we do toss coins and then we make some bets and challenges. In that condition only, if you ever tossed a coin on the air, the probability of head of the coin to appear is 50%. That is, there is a 50% chance for the head or the tail to appear once you toss the coin in the air. Meaning thereby that the coin has two sides, head and tail. And so, in an unbiased coin, there is an equal chance for the head or the tail to appear if it is tossed upwards. So, the head or the tail has a probability of 50% to appear when the coin has been tossed. Similarly, a die. You must have seen dice while playing snake and ladders or ludo, any such games which has a die, which is a singular of dice, and this die contains dots on all of its sides. And when you throw this dice on the table, there is a probability of any of the number which is ranging from 1 to 6 to appear at least once. So a die which has 6 sides with different spots ranging from 1 to 6 dots, the probability of a die to show any of its side is 1 by 6, because there is at least one chance for one-sided dot to appear in any of the 6 turns when you throw the die on the table. So, I hope the examples of the probability have been clear. If not, then let me share a very short story with you which is based on probability. Now, let us try to understand the term probability with the help of this particular story. Let us take a name of a girl who was named as Reena. Reena was very strong, very good in singing, but she lacked self-confidence. Her parents always motivated her to participate in music competitions, but due to lack of confidence, she never participated. Her teacher advised her to take part in the upcoming competition. Her classmate argued that since the classmate had been a winner of this competition every year, she was sure that she is going to win it again. In such a case, Reena could not dare to participate in the music competition. Number 1, she lacked self-confidence. Number 2, she knew that there is a particular regular winner of this competition who wins this competition since years. So in that case, Reena thought that there is no chance for me to win. And when her dad came to know about this, he brought a die that we talked about, which has 6 dots ranging from 1 to 6 on its 6 sides, and said her that, do you know, I can predict whether it will rain today or not. Now, Reena was wondering how could her father predict the weather with the help of a die. Now, he threw the die on the desk and on the table, and with the number that came, he predicted that it is going to rain within an hour. And surprisingly, after an hour, the rain started coming. So it was raining. However, at the time when her father had predicted the same, the weather was sunny outside. She was too surprised to see that. Now, she said her dad, why don't you predict with the die and tell me how much did I score today in my English test? So her father followed the same. He threw the die and said that there is a chance that you scored above 70%. Now, the father said that he can always tell the chance or the probability of a particular score to come, not exactly the score, but a probability for a particular score to come. So he said that there is a chance that she has scored above 70%. And now the die seemed magical to her, because actually she had scored 71% in her English marks. What was that happening? She asked her father now to throw the die on the dice and predict whether she will win the music competition or not. The father threw it on the table and said that there is a 90% chance for her to win the concert on the basis of the score that has come on the die. This made her confident enough. She felt motivated and she participated in the music concert. And to her surprise, she won the concert. She became the winner of the competition. She came to home with the trophy and said it to her father that his die is a magical die. How can it predict the percentage or the chance for a particular occur to happen, for a particular event to happen? Then he said that he was just predicting this on basis of probability, on basis of the available information, available knowledge. He could predict that. While predicting for the weather to change within an hour, he said he had heard it in the weather forecast. So there was a 90% chance for the rain to happen, and it happened so. Secondly, because she was too good in English, she had very good knowledge in the English course, it was very much sure that she will score above 70%. So this is how he threw the die, and on basis of the probable events, on basis of the probable information, her father said she cannot score below 70. And on basis of the knowledge that she was too good in music, he predicted that there is a 90% of chance for her to win the concert. So now it might have been more clear to you that what exactly is probability. Probability is the guess, which is not mere a guess, because it is based on the information related to number of events and the chance for a particular event to appear more or to appear to an accurate decision in comparison to other available events. Now, let us try to understand what exactly is probability ratio. Well, probability ratio refers to the desired outcome or event divided by the total number of outcomes or event. Now let us take the example of the die over here. A die has 6 dots on its 6 sides. A die has dots ranging from 1 to 6 on its 6 sides, and there is a particular chance, there is a chance for any dot to appear in any particular probability. The chance for that particular dot to appear is 1 by 6, because desired outcome is 1 chance and the total number of chances are 6. So this is how is probability ratio. As you can see on the screen also, the probability ratio of any side of the coin to occur after a toss is 1 by 2. If it is the number of sides of the coin, that is head or the tail, there are 2 sides of a coin. So each side has a chance to at least appear at 1 by 2 ratio. Similarly, for the die, there is a chance for any one of the side of the 6 sides to appear at least once by the total number of sides of the coin, which is 6. So this is about probability ratio. Now, we talk about normal probability curve. We discussed about probability, we discussed about probability ratio. Now it is high time that we come to know about what exactly is normal probability curve. Normal probability curve was discovered by a French mathematician. This particular curve is also known as Gaussian distribution or Gaussian curve, and the shape of this curve is in a bell shape. I hope you have seen the bells which usually hang around at say some religious places, or you might have seen bells ringing which has a inverted U shape. Now this curve has a shape of a bell, and that is why this curve is also known as a bell curve. A normal curve is a bell shaped curve, bilaterally symmetrical, and has continuous frequency distribution. So while trying to understand about what exactly is normal probability curve, the normal probability curve in fact shows the probability distribution for continuous random variable to which shows the probability distribution of a continuous random variable. And as mentioned to you, this is bell shaped. Now, if I say continuous random variable, you should know what exactly is continuous random variable in psychology. Continuous random variable describes the outcomes that can take place in form of a continuous range, and it is different from discrete random variable. So, continuous random variable refers to a quantity which is drawn on basis of statistical distribution. Now, while talking about that, a uniform random variable is an example of continuous random variable. Now, continuous random variable refers to any variable that can be divided into more smaller portions. Discrete and the example of continuous random variables are height, weight, time, which can be divided into smaller portions. But there are certain discrete variables which are countable in number, say number of students, say a number of any particular event, which cannot be divided into more halves and more numbers, refers to discrete continuous variable. Now, continuous random variable also has certain characteristics. First characteristic of continuous random variable is that the set of its possible values is uncountable. As mentioned, it is not finite, and we compute the probability that its value will belong to a given interval by integrating a function that is called as probability density function. So, a continuous random variable is said to be continuous only if the probability that it will belong to an interval is integral in nature, okay? And these probabilities are assigned certain intervals. So, the continuous variable is characterized by assigning probabilities to the interval of numbers. So, this is something related to continuous random variable, and the thing that we need to understand is that the normal curve shows the probability distribution for continuous random variable, and the graph of this particular normal distribution is symmetrical about a mean, and that is why this particular graph is known as a normal probability curve. And before we go into detail about the normal probability curve, we also need to understand what is the necessity of this particular curve or graph in the field of psychology. Now, many psychological variables are distributed approximately normally. Say measures of reading ability, introversion, job satisfaction, memory, all these are examples of normal distributed variables. And that is why in order to study such normal distributed variables, it is required to understand and reflect the data, represent the data with the help of normal probability curve. So, the basic history of probability curve, as mentioned to you, that it was earlier discovered by a French mathematician known as Abraham, and it is also known as Gaussian curve or a bell shaped curve due to the shape of that particular curve. Such a curve is formed as a result of plotting frequencies of scores of a continuous variable in a large sample. When the sample is too large and we need to plot the frequency of scores of a particular continuous variable, we need to use this particular curve. You can also see it in the diagram about this particular curve, how this curve is inverted U in shape. It shapes like a bell, and this particular shape represents the distribution of a mean or frequencies of scores that have been achieved in a particular with reference to a particular continuous variable. The curve is known as normal probability distribution curve because its y-ordinate provides the relative frequencies instead, or the probabilities instead of the observed frequencies. I repeat that y-ordinate provides the relative frequencies or probabilities, the chance, instead of the actual observed frequencies. A continuous random variable can be said to be normally distributed if the histogram of its relative frequency has the shape of a normal curve. Now, this is referred to as a normal bell-shaped curve, and a particular continuous variable can be said to be normally distributed only if the histogram of its relative frequency, not the actual observed frequency, of its relative frequency has the shape of a normal curve. Now, you can see over here the frequencies and the chance of a particular distribution as shown in the diagram. There is a standard deviation, there is an information about how the scores are deviating from its mean scores, and on the y-axis are the relative frequencies and not the actual frequencies of a particular data of a continuous variable. Now, normal distribution, normal probability curve is computed statistically, and we will also discuss about its functions and applications and the uses of the normal probability curve. Before we get into that, we should know what exactly is the how is the normal probability curve going to help us, or to help the psychologists, the researchers in the field of psychology. The normal probability curve helps in determining the percentage of cases in a normal distribution. Okay, it determines the percentage of cases in a normal distribution within given limits or scores. It also helps to determine the percentage of cases that are above or below a given score. As I showed you in the diagram, how they are deviating from the actual mean score or from the mean. It also helps to determine the limits of scores, which include a given percentage of cases. So, normal probability curve represents the normal distribution of particular cases, and this is represented within a limit or percentage. Now, let us discuss about the functions of the normal probability curve. The normal probability curve helps in describing the occurrence of a large number of variables. It helps in explaining how the frequencies or a variable is occurring more, or whether the particular variable, the chance of the variable to occur is less. So, it describes the occurrence of large number of variables. Secondly, it helps in comparing the distribution obtained by researcher based on his or her sample data. Thirdly, such comparison with normal distribution gives accuracy to the results obtained from the sample data. There are many data which, when plotted, takes the shape of normal distribution. For example, male-female ratio, height, weight, etc. of large groups of same age, same sex, the rate of birth or the rates of death, and many measurements in psychology such as IQ, mental and physical trait, or the chance errors. So, there occurs a lot many functions of the normal probability curve. So this was something today we have discussed. In this particular session, we discussed about the meaning of the word probability. We also discussed examples of probability, how the events and the occurrence of a particular variable reflects upon the chance or probability of a particular event to appear. We took the example of a tossed coin or the example of a die that is tossed on the table, and how events are predicted. We discussed about a short story which tried to explain you about the probability ratio for a particular chance to appear, which is based on the basis of certain information, certain background, and then only probability ratio is taken out. So there is a formula of probability ratio which refers to desired outcome by the total number of outcomes, the desired outcome by the actual number of outcomes, which is 1/2 for a coin or 1/6 for a die. Now we also discussed about what exactly is normal probability curve. We tried to understand the shape and why is this curve known as a bell-shaped curve. What is the exact meaning of this particular normal probability distribution? How is it related to random continuous variable? We also discussed about an example of random continuous variable. We discussed about the properties, we discussed about the functions of normal probability curve. So this much all for the session now, and we meet again in the next session to discuss about the significance, properties of normal probability curve. We will also discuss about the Z-score on the standard score in the next session. Till then, all the best to you all, and thank you.